see something really off the meta in team preview, and like, oh dude, I have to
adjust. What am I going to do?
Let's see what this is all about. And then in game one, it sometimes happens that you just straight up lose, and then it's hard oftentimes to come back, especially on the big stage when you're a little bit nervous and there's
a lot at stake as well.
Yeah, but on the other hand, creative teams often struggle against some really big threats as well. So you leave yourself open to some stuff in the meta game, and
they normally tend to counter maybe one big archetype in the format. That's why it's a little bit unusual, because it's got a really good sort of niche, maybe ability or something that can really counter one of the main teams out there, but it doesn't necessarily have an answer for every single main core out there.
Yeah. So let's jump into team preview, Lou.
Here we go, Swiss round 11, game 1. On Jamie's side of the field, you have got Gengar, Kyogre, Raichu, Scizor, Stakataka, and Yveltal. Whereas on Davide's side, you have got the Xerneas, Groudon, Salamence, Incineroar, Tapu Fini, and Amoonguss. So double Intimidate there for Davide.
Double Intimidate, and this is going to be really interesting. Again, we're gonna see a Kyogre facing off a Groudon, and if you just look at the restricted Pokemon, it seems like Davide might have the upper hand, because Xerneas can always switch into Yveltal, and straight up beat it, and the Groudon can always switch into the Kyogre. But Jamie got answers like that Stakataka, that Scizor, both deal good amount of damage to the Xerneas, and this may be Mega Gengar, which traps in the Groudon. Maybe we have seen it running Hidden Power Water to take care of it, but it just can even trap it and just let it there until Kyogre comes in and finishes it off. So this is going to be a really interesting match. Even the Yveltal is doing really good against the Groudon.
Yveltal's got really strong, I was going to say, since Stakataka came into the fold. It's been a really great partner choice for Yveltal, but I think that Gengar particularly looks good in this matchup. You can do a lot of damage against that opposing Xerneas if you've got Icy Wind as well. You can do a good amount of damage to the Salamence, and I think the speed control here is going to be quite critical. You want to make sure that your Pokemon are definitely being able to be in a position where they can start dealing out a lot of damage, but Jamie has got to play around a lot of this Intimidate coming out from Davide's side, so maybe opting for your special attackers along the line of the Kyogre and the Gengar might be more preferable. Yveltal and Stakataka might struggle a little bit if Davide is able to start rotating in the turns, but these players, they're ready. They've both sort of got their little mascots there. You've got Jamie with the Cottony and a sort of Davide with a Rainbow Rare Xerneas TCG card as well. But here we are, we're jumping right into the game, Sebi.
And there we go, Jamie Boyt is leading with Gengar and Raichu, and Davide is leading Incineroar and Amoonguss. No restricted Pokemon on the field yet. Both players seem to want to prepare the board for their restricted Pokemon. Later on, of course, Davide doesn't want to have his Pokemon locked into the
Shadow Tag
ability, and you wanna be able to do something like loads of Incineroars do run U-turn, so you can get away with it a little bit better. And Jamie just wants to prepare the board already.
Well, Gengar going to evolve into Mega Gengar here. A little blast in the past from Wolf Glix World's 2016 team with Raichu and Gengar here on the field. But these two Pokemon on Davide's side will now be trapped in unless Incineroar's able to go for some redirection. Fake out coming out though straight away from the Raichu as Gengar goes for another substitute. Something we've seen a lot on Gengar in this particular tournament. So one substitute up and a Z move. It looks like it's going to be that malicious moonsault there from the Incineroar.
I love that animation, and it's actually really clever that Jamie put up a substitute, because even if he used Protect to get in safely, that malicious moonsault would have dealt more damage, and now he just loses a quarter of its health after the substitute is broken. This was a really clever move just to trap in both Pokemon and really safe fake out, really safe play, settling up what's going on. Do you switch, Davide? Do you stay in? No matter what happens, I got the substitute, and he got everything covered with that play.
It just protects the Gengar that little bit more, having the substitute taking that Z move, and it also means critically Davide has now used that up. He cannot use it again in the rest of this game. It's an interesting position for him now as well, because that Amoonguss, if Raichu and Gengar, which don't normally have the best answer, the best way to deal with Amoonguss in terms of offensive pressure, aren't able to sort of subdue it at this moment, maybe with a taunt or something from Gengar, then it's going to be able to start going for some spores. Stack Attack is going to jump into the field though. This amazing Ultra Beast here. Raichu's going to get on out, maybe go for a fake out later on, as Gengar also reveals Protect, so it really does show that Substitute was the best option there. Amoonguss goes for Spore, but into the safety goggles there, so that is certainly one way that you can get around that Amoonguss going for Spore.
Oh, really clever again. That Stakataka can run a variety of items, as we've already seen. And in this particular matchup, the safety goggles is a perfect fit. He could switch in that Stakataka really safely. And we already talked about the matchup before it even started, and we thought, well, that Stakataka might be the key to victory for Jamie. And he brought it in really early, and that Gengar just keeps protecting, wanting to stay on the field as long as possible, just to trap the opposing Pokemon. And there we see the Stakataka switching out in favor of a Kyogre. I'm really curious which move is coming up now.
Yeah, I really like that play from Jamie, because Davide's not going to go for a Spore into the Stakataka, knowing he's got safety goggles. If that Gengar goes for Substitute as well, you're not going to Spore that slot. So it's quite a safe play here, where he's assuming no Spores coming out. I want to switch in my Kyogre, so making sure I've got the speed, got the weather. You can't switch out Davide to bring in your Groudon. So it's in a great position to use some rain moves the next time, but Disable coming out from the opposing Gengar, saying, you're not going to Darkest Lariat me either. And Amoonguss goes for Grass Knot, so did he call the Kyogre coming in? Yes, he did.
Whoa, that was a really good catch there.
Oh, that's amazing. Even Stakataka wouldn't have appreciated taking that, but low kick critically coming out from that Incineroar. So it looks like Davide, even if the Stakataka was in there, low kick, huge damage that would have done there, but poor Kyogre's taking the brunt of it instead. Yeah,
that was a really good play by Davide. He covered he covered everything, like Stakataka staying in on that, and Kyogre switching in. That Kyogre is almost down. At least it's already in chip range for a potential Dazzling Gleam or Precipitous Blades later on, and he's preparing the Kyogre to go down. And as we know, Jamie's just got Raichu and Gengar, both pretty frail Pokemon.
Very true.
That Stakataka doesn't want to take any damage, but Kyogre taking out Incineroar.
Yeah, its HP obviously being dwindled down, doesn't want to go for any Water Spouts, but Scald in the Rain is more than enough to pick up the KO against the Incineroar, but it will have to take a Spore for its troubles. Getting rid of that Fake Out and Intimidate user is going to be beneficial for Jamie, as we can see he's got the Stakataka in the back, but as you mentioned earlier, double Intimidate on Davide's side. Jamie's got all 4 Pokemon revealed. He has predominantly gone for his special attacking Pokemon, with the Gengar and the Kyogre on there.
Yeah, and now Groudon is coming in, and I think this is a really interesting situation. Jamie's Pokemon are all in range to get knocked out by the ground type move, and this is David has just to go to break that substitute, get along with a damaging Gengar once he chipped that Kyogre enough, and he even put it asleep as well.
Very true.
David just brought himself in a really good position.
Exactly, he's got the Sun up on his field at the moment, and Gengar has revealed 3 out of his 4 moves. You've got Substitute, Protect, and Disable, so it only has one sort of offensive pressure move. So it's going to be interesting to see what that one is. Potentially could be something, maybe the Hidden Power Water would be an option to go down against that Groudon, but as Kyogre's already on the field, not going to be able to utilize that at all. Instead, just going straight up for a Protect. Just to keep both these Pokemon trapped on the field a little longer, and also buy himself a little bit more time to start thinking things through. Amoonguss going for the Rage Powder though.
And Kyogre staying in, not opting to reset the weather later on. And we do see it's a special attacking Groudon using Eruption.
Yeah,
That's
Eruption.
Interesting.
Nice to have a special Groudon on the field. I think that's the first time we've really showcased one here on stream, and it just means that you can sort of dance around those Intimidates that are coming out everywhere, and particularly if you can get it in the Sunshine as well. Groudon, when it goes Primal, gets the Fire typing as well, so you get that same type attack bonus. Can be a really crucial move, and it leaves Jamie free to bring in his Raichu now, but the crucial thing is he's now lost the weather. There can be no more rain.
He lost the weather, and he lost the most dominant attacking Pokemon on his team, so it's going to be really hard for him to actually do some damage to Davide. Of course, he gets some tricks. We've already seen the Disable. He might come along and get the opponent Pokemon to struggle and stuff like that. But this is going to be tough to win a match with not being able to deal
any damage to Groudon as well. When looking at his Pokemon, you've got Gengar, weak to ground, We don't even know what his fourth move is at the moment. Raichu, electric type, doesn't like ground. Stack Attacker doesn't like ground. This Groudon looks to be in a really, really strong position at the moment. Amoonguss does have its Rage Powder disabled. Oh my gosh. That was absolutely... You can just see Jamie's reaction there. He was shaking his head. Really, really unhappy with that. And goes for the Encore with the Raichu. So he's trying to go for that Encore disable play that we've seen many, many times before. As the Groudon goes for the Eruption, revealing... Oh no, doesn't reveal a sash on there at all. Oh, it does. Raichu just saving on there. There's so much going on in this particular turn, so much information being revealed. I need to calm down. As
don't worry.
Amoonguss goes for the Rage Powder. Oh, Sebi, I need to have a drink of water after that.
Yeah, you can. Well, you're not the one who has to be nervous on this one. Like, it's still really tough. I don't see the real winning plan yet from Jamie, but as he revealed the Encore and the Disable, he might try to get a lot away with that, but even if Groudon struggled, it deal a good amount of damage to Gengar or Raichu. That Raichu cannot take any other hit anymore because it got 1 HP, and that's why it switches out.
Exactly, just to maybe have that fake out later on in the game. Amoonguss going for a Rage Powder is encored into this, of course, so doesn't really have a choice at the moment. As Gengar goes for another disable, the Mental Herd having been activated the previous turn, which caused all the excitement. Now Amoonguss will be disabled and encored into that move, so is technically rendered just not useful for Davide at all. Going to be going for some struggles. Eruption coming out again from the Groudon is enough to pick up the KO against Gengar, and Stack Attacker does take a huge amount of damage in return. Groudon not having any of its HP chipped away at it. These eruptions are doing full damage.
These eruptions are doing full damage, and maybe Jamie wants to opt for like a... he obviously wanted Raichu in the back to have the fake up pressure. That's why he switched it out, and maybe he wants to go for a forfeit now.
Yeah, I think particularly when he saw that Mental Herb as well, you could see how disappointed he was. And that's a really interesting item choice that's on Amoonguss. We've spoken a lot yesterday about Amoonguss having loads of different berries. It likes to maybe have something like the Ochre Berry, the Papaya Berry, or even the Cobra Berry, which are all berries that if they take a certain type of super effective attack, such as flying or fire, will reduce the damage taken. But having Mental Herb on there, I think is really, really cool for Amoonguss. You can't be sort of taunted, you can't have any issues with Spore or Rage Powder, so it's a really great option on there.
It still is, but Jamie actually forfeited the match now, and there you go. I think he already thought about the game plan, how he has to adapt in game 2.
Yes.
Like he lost the Kyogre pretty early in the match. Like
he had nothing for Groudon.
He had nothing for Groudon then, and Kyogre was his primal way of really doing damage. Like he couldn't do any damage at all to Groudon, and he has to adapt his game plan a little bit, I guess. I think he was going to go for a Trick Room mode with that Stack Attacker, but
possibly.
That play was actually pretty cool, where he showed, okay, I got safety goggles, and now I can switch in my Kyogre, but that didn't work out, to be honest.
No,
and this is where things went down a little bit, because that Kyogre had no chance at winning the game anymore.
It was sort of maybe a little bit of a commentator's curse, because he kind of safely gets to switch in, meaning he's not going to get spored. He did have to take a huge amount of damage, particularly as the option choices, the Amoonguss went for Grass Knot, does huge damage against that big Kyogre. But if you're Jamie here, you do really have to think about that Groudon, because you cannot leave your other Pokemon vulnerable to it if you lose your Kyogre, and potentially the Yveltal could be a good option choice for it if it is carrying something like... I was going to say something like Foul Play, but then we've seen the Eruption on there. It's a special Groudon. It's definitely going to give Jamie a couple of headaches, but either way, Yveltal just being able to maybe avoid any ground type attacks, whether special or physical, could benefit later on, but he needs to find a way to just start chipping away at this Groudon as well. So if it does want to keep going for Eruption, it's not going to be dealing as much damage, and you do see the Yveltal on the field paired up with Gengar.
There you go. I'm pretty sure Jamie already played this team several times
probably
this tournament, and that's why he got a second game plan ready, leading off with Gengar and Yveltal, and Davide is leading with Incineroar and Amoonguss. He sticks with the same lead. I guess he led with that as in the last
game.
It worked out for him. It worked out for him. It's a pretty solid lead. You can just scout like what is Jamie trying to do. You might U-turn out, you might spore some things. Like Jamie has his only answer is Stack Attacker with safety goggles. Get away with spores, and this Amoonguss is a really good pick in this matchup, I guess. And let's see if that Yveltal is running some flying type attack.
I was just about to say, you know that the Amoonguss has the mental herb, you don't have to worry about potential Cobra berries, so any flying type moves that Yveltal might be carrying will be dealing a good amount of damage, and that might be a way to get rid of that pesky mushroom for Jamie's side. But instead, Amoonguss going straight for the Protect here. Gengar is evolved up into Mega Gengar and does what is done so well this tournament, goes for a Substitute, just protects this out, as Yveltal goes for a Dark Pulse into the Protect of Amoonguss, as Incineroar goes for Dark Zaria. It's not going to fall victim to using the Z move into the Substitute, but this time it will at least break it going into the next turn.
Yeah. So Davide adapted already and made use of, okay, I know you got Substitute, I won't waste my into that one.
Exactly.
And Jamie tried to play it safe again. He wanted to get up a Substitute as early as possible. He wanted to chip that Amoonguss as early as possible to maybe clear the way for Kyogre later on. Which will be interesting if he manages to get Incineroar and Amoonguss off the board, get Groudon in on Davide's side, and then manage to get his own Kyogre in, would be great. Oh, there you go.
Oh, we see a Z move coming out here. It's going to be from Jamie's Yveltal. Going to be the Black Hole Eclipse by the Z move animation there. I always love that when you see Phil dance, and it gives you an indication to what's coming next. And it's going to be this Black Hole Eclipse. We also saw from the Gengar there going for Sludge Bomb. That is the fourth and final move on Jamie's Gengar. So we know it doesn't have something like Shadow Ball. And that's the only way it can deal out damage. So for Xerneas, you do have to be careful about that. Amoonguss, that mushroom that gave Jamie so much trouble, has now been KO'd, giving Davide the option to bring in a Pokemon later on. But Gengar, even though it's gone out with the Sludge Bomb, got the chip on the Amoonguss, it's left itself exposed to now take the malicious Moonsault here from the Incineroar. You can see how determined he is. He's like, haha, no Substitute this time, I got you.
Fuegro. This is the German name. But this is, again, Jamie already had to risk something. Like he now trades his Gengar for the Amoonguss and not being able to trap Pokemon in later on, that Incineroar can switch out freely later. So Davide is probably not sending in his Groudon now. So we're gonna see what I got in the back. So he can switch it in later on, and Jamie probably wants to avoid the same. If Xerneas is entering the field, this might be crucial.
It's going to be the Kyogre jumping in here for the raid. It's actually going
to be the Kyogre
and
for Jamie, and Xerneas coming in.
Okay, so if Davide does have that Groudon in the back, Kyogre does have to be really worried about it. But if you're Jamie right now, you've got to maybe think about the speeds a little bit here, but you need to find a way to stop that Xerneas from setting up a Geomancy. Yeah,
and this is, if that Groudon is in the back, Davide just made it really clever by sending in the Xerneas. If that Groudon is in the back, it's pretty free to set up a Geomancy. I don't know all the moves from Yveltal yet, but it's not that threatening. And he can even start just dealing damage straight away to Yveltal and whatever Jamie got in the back. And just clear the field with Groudon later on.
Exactly, this would be the situation where you would want that Gengar on the field next to Kyogre, just so that you know it's safe. You can go for some water-type moves. At least Jamie has managed to get it in safely this time. Kyogre has not taken any damage, but he still needs to find a way to be able to get around that Groudon. It might be a case of having to switch out your Kyogre, predicting that the Groudon's going to come in, just so you can switch it in later. But by doing that, yes, you're maybe winning the weather situation at the time, but you could be sacrificing yourself for a Geomancy. Not going to be the case though. Xerneas switches out for the Groudon, which is I would have predicted it on the other side.
Yeah, me too. Interesting decision, but let's see what Davide's plan behind that is. We did see through that. Yeah, probably he wants to preserve the Xerneas for longer and just straight up deal damage with Incineroar, or just see what Jamie got in the back and scout with U-turn in this turn with Incineroar.
Yes, very true. No switching out from the Kyogre there. Dark Pulse coming out from the Yveltal. Going into Groudon does do a huge amount of damage. The Water-type attacks, of course, will be absorbed up by that Sunshine, as Incineroar does want to also leave the field and goes for a U-turn. So this could potentially be where Xerneas comes back in safely, while it's also got Groudon on the field. So Davide just maybe switching up his ball positioning. Yes, he could have switched in Groudon and gone for the Geomancy, but would have maybe taken a lot more damage in return, whereas at least this way, he's got the offensive pressure the Groudon's got, and he's also now got the Incineroar in the back to bring in for Fake Out later on as well.
And he covered like Jamie's options.
Yes, he said.
Covered, if Raichu was in the back or stuff like that, and Jamie would have switched. He got a slow U-turn, which brought his Incineroar in.
Xerneas back in.
Xerneas back in, right. And now his ball position is even better because you got the fake up pressure in the back. Xerneas now knows, okay, there is no taunt coming, no tailwind coming from Yveltal. I'm pretty free to set up. And this was a really clever play. I do get it now. It's way more safer than it looked it be.
Yeah, it certainly helped out the Xerneas a lot as well. You do have to worry about the Groudon taking damage from the Yveltal. You saw how much that Dark Pulse did, and it does just sort of show that the Aura really does help boost up this Dark-type moves. Kyogre is now going to go back to the Pokeball as Stakataka joins the field, maybe hoping that there's going to be no Ground-type moves, which, you know, would probably be the option choice there, as you've got a Flying type on the field as well. But most critically, the Steel typing really going to help out against that Xerneas if it does get up a Geomancy. Dark Pulse going into the Xerneas, maybe trying to get a flinch. Nope, goes for just the Geomancy, going to get all those boosts up on there.
No, just do some chip damage to Xerneas, just to make sure, because some Xerneas are trained to stand the gyro balls coming in. Yeah, they used to be bulky because, they want to stand stuff like gyro ball, and Jamie is trying to chip it to maybe get away with that.
Exactly, and predicting the Protect maybe on the Groudon there, definitely a bold choice, because if, you know, Groudon had been free to go for a move there, if they'd gone for, you don't want to go for Eruption with your health at that kind of level, but if you are still going for something like an Earth Power or a Precipice Blades on this Sakataka switching in, that could be really devastating for Jamie. But Yveltal going for a Sucker Punch, going into that Groudon, it is not enough to pick up the KO, as Xerneas goes for a Moonblast. So we know there's no Assault Vest on this Yveltal, so it will be KO'd by that very, very powerful Moonblast, but it looks like at the moment Stakataka is relatively unchecked, except for the Earth Power. We know it's safety goggles, there's no Shucker Berry on there either, and again, really, really clean KO there from Davide.
Really well played. That was a really safe play from Davide's side.
Yes.
And I do like how Jamie Boyt played for his outs. Like if he could get up Trick Room, he'd have Kyogre in the back, and maybe he got Skill Swap, as we seen yesterday from Daniel, like switching those abilities right and left in Trick Room is really funny. This would be one way to win for Jamie, but now Davide can just play it safe, reset the weather, his Xerneas is boosted, and the Kyogre can then just use Ice Beam to boost his Xerneas, but he just sticks with what he got on the field, Moonblasting the Kyogre, and not quite enough.
Managed to hang on, but Earth Power gonna be sort of teaming themselves up against Jamie's Kyogre here, and it will be mean that Davide has won Swiss round 11 in two very, very explosive games. I absolutely loved that Groudon so much. We've seen Groudon a lot so far, but he just masterfully was able to get it constantly in a position where Jamie had no answers for it. He had kind of that advantage maybe in sort of the teams where if you managed to get rid of the Kyogre, then you were in a really good position. But at the end of the day, Jamie will have thought about Groudon. It's not a Pokemon you easily forget. And Davide was just able to preserve it, switch